Hello and welcome on this lovely sunny day to the June Positive Images Festival Poetry Workshop. These take place on the last Sunday of every month, except for this month, because every year we celebrate National Refugee Week, and in Coventry we have Coventry Welcomes Week. So this workshop is taking place as part of those festivities. And as part of that, coming up, we have poetry from across the globe. We usually do anyway, but specifically in this workshop, we look at poets from other countries. So, if you are joining us for the first time and you like what you see, then feel free to go into the playlists on my YouTube channel and to look back over the past sessions. There's one a month, but they're not particularly, they can be watched in any order. They're all standalone ones, so it doesn't matter how you watch them. So I thought we would start with a poem, because that's a good way to start a poetry workshop. This is called Sometimes We Are Tied Down. Sometimes we are tied down by memories, and there are no scissors that could cut through those tough threads or ropes. You see the bridge there by the House of Artists. A few steps before that bridge, gendarmes shot a worker dead who was walking in front of me. I was only 20 at the time, but whenever I pass the spot, the memory comes back to me. It takes me by the hand, and together we walk to the little gate of the Jewish cemetery, through which I had been running from their rifles. The years moved on with unsure, tottering step, and I wished them. Years flying till time stood still. So this is a poem by Jaroslav Savert, and the bio should be on screen. Savert is a Czechoslovakian poet and journalist. He experienced the political upheavals of his country, yet produced a distinctive body of work for which he won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1984. He's in that elite club of poets who have won a Nobel Prize for Literature. He was born into a working-class family near Prague. He was appointed as National Artist of Czechoslovakia in 1967, and in 1969 he was elected Chairman of the Czechoslovakian Writers' Union. I know it's not Czechoslovakia anymore, but it was when he was there, so I've stuck with that country name for the bio. So that's it. That's one of his poems that we've just looked at. There's going to be a lot of names that are unfamiliar to me and words in this session. As always, I'll do my best to pronounce them, but do feel free to tell me if I'm saying any of them wrong in the comments, and I'm always keen to learn. So what I really like about this poem is the wonderful metaphors and similes in this piece. I think it's a good one to look at if maybe you're coming across poetry for the first time, or you're fairly new to it. Sometimes we are tied down by memories, and there are no scissors that could cut through those tough threads. So here, we've all felt this, where there's some things that we just can't let go of, that we hold on to, and it's like ropes tying us down, and the scissors aren't enough to get through them. So we know how that feels. And every time he goes to this particular spot, he's reminded of something awful that happened here. It takes me by the hand, and together we walk. And it's not like a sudden shock, it's something actually quite gentle. He's taken by the hand and walked through this memory, but something that he's not in control of. He's walked through it. He doesn't walk with the person. His hand is taken. So it's something that's potentially, well, of course it is, it's an unwanted memory. And that simile, that metaphor of being taken by the hand, that reinforces that. The difference between simile and metaphor is simile is when we say something is like something, and a metaphor is when we say that it is that. So sometimes we are tied down by memories is a metaphor, because we're not literally tied down by memories. It's metaphorical, as we'd say. So there's a lot of that in this poem. And I think we can all relate to that we go to a certain place and sometimes they're very pleasant memories and lovely memories, sometimes not so much. Hopefully, you know, nobody has had to witness a shooting like this poet did. But you know, people have had to witness awful things that they are reminded of in certain places. But as I say, also nice things as well. Poetry doesn't have to be deep and dark, but it can explore some of the more traumatic things that humans have to go through. So think of a place that you wouldn't be able to walk past without thinking of a particular moment or person. So maybe it's the hospital that you still drive past where your child was born. Maybe it's the house that you used to live in. Maybe it's somewhere you used to play in childhood. Maybe it's just somewhere you associate where you used to meet with friends. Any of those things. Perhaps it's somewhere you've enjoyed walking when the lockdowns were on. And now whenever you go there, you remember that point in time. Like I say, it doesn't have to be negative, it doesn't have to be positive. It can just be something that you remember every time you go to that place. And try slotting in some of those metaphors if you can, so that your poem that you're going to have a go at writing is a mixture of reality and fantasy. And I will see you in the next activity. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed that activity. Throughout the video, feel free to pause it. Take as much time as you need to do these activities. If you want to watch the video all in one go and do them later, that's fine. But if you want to watch the video over like a few days or weeks and do a bit at a time, then that's great too. Use it however you feel comfortable. And whenever I tell you to write, maybe you just put a few words down on that subject. Maybe you are able to create a full poem. Or maybe you end up writing prose, and prose just means that it's in like full sentences and paragraphs, like a short story, for instance, or a biography is prose. However you write and whatever you do with the activities is the right thing. It's perfect. You can't do any of these wrong. As long as you're being creative, then we're away, and I am very happy. My job is done. I do love exploring words, and that's one of the fun things about poetry is the words and playing with words. And there's a lot of words in other languages that we don't actually have a word for in English, and I love discovering these. There's a few different websites and blogs online that you know focus purely on this, and I've used those to take some of these words from. Many of the words tend to relate to emotions or feelings, which I find interesting. So here's a few examples. As ever, I'll do my best to pronounce them, but feel free to let me know if I've got it wrong, because it is always good to learn a new word. So I'll put them on the screen and you should be able to see them. So this first one is Russian, Toska. The feeling that something in your life is missing, but you aren't sure what it is. This one I really love. I think out of all the words, this is my favourite. So wabi sabi, this is Japanese. It might be wabi sabi, but either way, it's a beautiful word to say, and the meaning is amazing. It's finding beauty in imperfection, and I love doing that in poetry. So finding beauty in imperfection. This next one is in Mandarin, Juanfen. The idea that two people are fated to be together but don't end up staying together. So like a relationship that's meant to be but for a short period of time. It's a really good excuse if you're trying to split up with somebody, apparently. So this next one is Arabic, Ya'aburni. Ya'aburni. Wanting to pass away before another person because the idea of living without them would be just unbearable. So you want to die before they do because you just couldn't possibly imagine life without them. That's quite a sad one, sorry. Let's cheer it up with this one. Duende, which is Spanish. often used when we're referring to flamenco dancing, but it can be used to describe any form of art or anything artistic. And it describes the feeling of being deeply moved by a piece of art or a dance. So that feeling of when you go into like a museum and you see something, you're like, oh, that's amazing, and you feel deeply moved by it. That is duende in Spanish. So choose one of the words that's on the screen, they'll all appear now, or one that you know in another language that doesn't have a direct English translation. Feel free to rewind and just relook at all those words, the meanings of them, the definitions if you need to. But take that word, maybe use that as the title of your poem, but see if it inspires some words, see what emotions, feelings, experiences come out of that word. So sometimes I do like a spider diagram or a word bank where I put the word in the middle and I have lots of like arrows coming off it on my page, and I just write down all over the page all the things that word reminds me of, like what colour it would be, what texture it would be, like some memories, other words that I associate with it. That's one way of getting into writing a poem that you could do. Otherwise, some people can just sit down and write the poem, which is amazing, and if you can do that, go for it. So just to repeat, your activity is to choose one of the words that we just looked at, or one of your own that you know, that doesn't have an actual definition in English, and see if it inspires a poem. So write a poem based on that word. Okay, and I will see you in part 3 of the workshop. Thank you. This is the part of the workshop where I do what we call the best practice quote. So it means that we take a quote from a successful writer, author, and we think on it, we let it just sit with us and inspire us. So this one is by Nafasiatu Dioff. And she says, writers must speak about their society in a critical manner, the ills that preoccupy them, situations that touch them or make them laugh. So Dioff was born on the September the 11th, 1973 in Dakar in Senegal. She's a Senegalese writer and she writes in French. Her work includes fiction, poetry, children's literature, philosophical essays, and it often, particularly her fiction, portrays diverse topics as they relate to her country, such as education, marriage, relationships, the influence that the West has had on her country, and the roles of business and government and the power of the media. Dioff provides her reader with a comprehensive yet critical view of Senegal and shows how her homeland is affected by and reacts to changes in it currently faces. Which fits in with the quote. We can see why she would say that, because it fits in very much with how she works and what she believes in. So it made me think, what do I write about? What do I feel called to write about, and why? And I thought it might be nice for you to consider that as well. And have a think, if there's something that you haven't written about that maybe you'd like to, or you think you ought to, perhaps after this workshop could be the time to make a start on that. So there's something for us to think about. But moving on to our final activity of the session, of the special Coventry Welcomes workshop. This is a short poem, and the original poem is by Tuvia Rubina, and this translation is by Oded Manna. So it was originally written, I believe, in Hebrew, and it's called Before You, the Rain. Before you, the ancient rain, warmth on your back, you stand and think how few the words a man needs in his life. You think of him who sees all this, and him whose face is the wind and the falling of the leaves and rain tapping the glass. So it's another one that seems simple on the surface, but it's got a lot in it when you look into it, and one of those that I read again and find more in, and I say that every session, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I know you do love a good bio, I get feedback on that. So let me tell you about Tuvia Rubina. Born 30th of January 1924 and died 29th of July 2019. So again, within all our lifetimes that this poet was active. So he was an Israeli poet who wrote in Hebrew and German. The recipient of many literary awards in Israel, Germany and Austria, he was awarded the Israel Prize for Poetry in 2008. This is I've been told, the highest accolade that Israel bestows on writers. So the jury awarding that prize described Rubina as among the most important of the Hebrew poets, and that his poetry was restrained, polished and intellectual. And I like this because we talk about like intellectual, and this poem really is, but we understand all the words that are in it, and you don't have to like be academic or a genius to work it out, which is why I can read it. So it's just that he's clever with how he uses the words. It feels like very delicately sparse, and it focuses, to me, these are only ever my opinions, but to me it focuses on what the poet considers to be important. It feels also as if the rain tapping, which is the last image we're left with, tapping the glass, is on a line of its own. It feels as if that is demanding our attention as a reader, maybe demanding the narrator's attention and saying, look, these are the important things in life. This rain tapping the glass, you know, the wind, the falling leaves, nature is the important thing. And I like that it's been called Before You, the rain. So we're here now for this very short space of time occupying Earth, but everything that's come before us, you know, nature has always been there and will continue to be there. So that's why I like this poem anyway, and I hope you do as well. Here's your challenge, which I know you choose to accept. So start with the line, you stand and think how few the words a man or woman or person needs in life. So you stand and think how few words a person needs in life, and continue the poem. That will be on screen for you. So that's your starter, how few words we need in life, and then maybe go on to describe a few of the things that are important to you. So this poet thought it was the falling leaves and the face of the wind and the rain tapping on the glass. And there's only 3 things mentioned in this poem because it's short and it just gets to the point and says these are the important things. So don't feel you have to write some big long poem. A list of 3 descriptions split over a couple of lines, and there's your poem, because it's yours and it's what's important to you. So don't just say rain leaves wind, say the wind, you know, the face of the wind, as he said in this poem, or the rain which is tapping on the glass. So try and have some action in there as well, the thing and then a little bit of action. So recap that again, because I know I talk. You're starting off with the line, you stand and think how few words a man needs in life, and continue the poem. I would say woman, but you know, you do whatever suits you for your poem. And there we are. So you can do that activity when I've signed off and said bye to you. Thanks again for everyone who supports these workshops, to Positive Images Festival for funding them. Also this month to Coventry Welcomes Week and National Refugee Week for supporting these workshops. And I hope that we have done you proud and there'll be some lovely poems come as a result of this. Thanks to all of you who have stuck with me on these throughout the different lockdowns and stayed with us on YouTube. It really has helped to see that it's worthwhile and to get your lovely comments. Do feel free to comment under this video, give it a like, share it with other people who you feel might need a little creative boost or would enjoy it. And stay in touch with me on Facebook and Twitter as well, and you can see the different projects that I'm involved in. Any workshops that I know about that are going on, I will share on there. Potentially, the next session will be live in Coventry in the UK, because I know some people actually have started watching from other countries. So we're in the middle of the UK. Might be a bit far for you to come, so we'll see if we can put something online still. But hopefully it will be in person at Central Library, 1 o'clock start till 3:30. But don't just turn up. Keep an eye out on the social media pages and on the Positive Images Festival website, or feel free to email me. Thank you so much. Have a good month and happy National Refugee Week.